Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma is more than its predecessors in action JRPG. The farming has been heavily de-emphasized to the point where the town management new to this Rune Factory spin-off takes over. Sort of. Because even the town management is so simple as to be stress-free in this game. You can literally place anything anywhere and it will give you the bonuses and requirements toward growing your towns. Sure, there are some logistical considerations with where you place your homes and paths since you want your townspeople to be able to leave their homes and get to their jobs as soon as possible. But the game is extremely lenient with where and how things are placed. You can even place all the homes for all the townspeople in your towns in one town, and it's even encouraged since some towns give you a lot less space to develop than others. And the decorations tend to give better stats to your character versus the amount of space they take up. Farming is largely or even completely unnecessary to complete the main story of this game. It's still a fun optional activity to grow food ingredients, level up crops and skills, earn some points toward village levels, and earn some money on the side. It's also extremely fast, and although villagers can't be micromanaged, they do automate farming. They just may not grow what you want them to. Speaking of villagers, once you control a town, villagers will start working for you. You can manage the villagers in a menu to assign them specific tasks, move them between towns, or evict them from your settlements. You can assign villagers to tend shops, farm, cut wood, mine ores, go fishing, or tend to monsters. They will have a productivity value represented by axes and traits that give them an edge or penalty when they are doing specific tasks. Since new villagers will constantly come to your towns as long as you have the space for them, the wonderful eviction option is great for taking out the trash and making room for the best townspeople. I personally never got tired of evicting people in the same way people probably get a rush doing crime in Grand Theft Auto, but I do admit it probably would have been more ideal if the game simply let you filter the kinds of people that could join your villages just to avoid having to constantly go into the menu every morning to evict and reassign new villagers. Personally, most of my villagers tended shops and animals or got me lumber and ore. I did my own farming to complete the village development missions. Gone are the stinky watering cans from past games, replaced with a fast watering parasol. Well, that's mostly true, but honestly, you only really want to use the watering can if you're out of rune points to use the parasol. No more running to the water source to refill your watering can either. You can also more or less halve the amount of time it takes to grow crops with the sacred drum. And no more funky chemical farming to level up crops. The sacred sword can fire up your bow to have a decent chance of collecting higher level seeds to level up your crops. These things make farming faster and more fun for me personally than farming in any other farming game I've ever played. Perhaps a bit controversially, or maybe blasphemy would be a better word for those purists who love watering cans or realistic farming mechanics, you can even plant, harvest, and water seeds in the game's build mode, which also completely freezes the in-game timer. This can literally make farming tasks take no in-game time at all. This build mode is so awesome, you can even use it to place all the shops and decorations you constructed at the builder's shop too. It's so easy and stress-free compared to a lot of games that let you build things too. I'm looking at you, Atelier Yumiya. Unlike pretty much every other farming game out there, there's also no real time pressure in this game to grow crops before the season changes, since the towns themselves represent the seasons, and all the crops will grow in multiple seasons too. They just may not grow as easily in some seasons than in others. The only thing time really influences are birthdays, festivals, and hours of operation for shops. In older Rune Factory titles, you would simply talk to or gift people with things to increase your relationship levels with them, but in this game they deepened the system quite a bit for those who played the games for their relationship mechanics. You get a growing number of viable activities to do with people as the game progresses that will develop your relationships with them. The game also has mini scenes interspersed with choices you make for developing relationships, and bonding quests you can choose to do for marriage candidates as well. I am not one of the people that plays these games for their social mechanics, so for me this was largely bloat, made even worse by the fact that the game forced me to marry and get someone to blast a kid out just to reach the game's post-game dungeon. I still ended up doing all the quests and raising everybody's bonding level to 10 for the recipes though, and admittedly the characters do learn some stronger skills that can be really useful if you take them into battle with you. But you'll be doing the majority of the work in boss battles regardless. Most of this stuff though, the farming and social relationships especially, are largely optional. Only a limited amount of town management is required at certain points in the game to continue the main story. And only after you've beaten the game does it force you to marry and have a kid before the post-game dungeon unlocks. The fact that it was all optional and I could focus on what I enjoyed is why I love this game. The real fun of this game for me is its action RPG gameplay. This game allows you to quickly switch between a physical melee and ranged weapon type on the fly, along with a rich set of sacred weapons that attack with different element types in different attack styles. The sacred weapons mostly replace magic from the other Rune Factory games, and they also can confer other gameplay bonuses, like increasing your movement speed, enchanting your bow, or allowing you to float in the air for a limited time. Instead of using a bow, you can also use talismans that work like ranged magical attacks. Being able to quickly change around elements on the fly is a game changer, whereas in past Rune Factory games you'd have to menu to these options. All of the weapons also have easily accessible special attacks or recovery options you can use too. In a boss fight, you can quickly test the damage you do to discover weakness and exploit it. You can also scarf down food and recovery items indiscriminately in battle when you need them, limited only by your inventory space, which is already massive. Honestly, it does make the game a little too easy, but I mean, you can increase the difficulty level if you want to, and this game without a doubt has the most fluid combat system in any Rune Factory game I've ever played. There's also enough stuff to do on the maps to make exploring them fun. You can revisit boss fights to grind materials or recruit bosses, gather ore and lumber, look for onigiri shrines, look for frog statues, and some other fun things that unlock as you progress through the game. You can create a party of villagers to join you on your adventure, but their equipment will quickly get out of date and it's costly to maintain, so unless I'm trying to increase my bonds with someone, I actually prefer to use a party of monsters. You can actually recruit just about any monster and boss in the game, which is one of my favorite things about the Rune Factory games in general. Monsters typically scale heavy with their levels since they don't get the stat bonuses from equipment, and they produce more valuable resources at higher levels. You'll want to have your barns with high-level monsters tended by talented villagers to make a lot of money and get a lot of rarer materials off of these monsters. It was pretty common in older Rune Factory games to run out of space for items too, since everything could level up and all those different levels of items took up valuable and extremely limited space in those games. But in this game, your items are automatically stored in a large storage box. After around 80 hours of gameplay, I never managed to run out of space and had no item management, which is a huge plus. Also gone are the days where you craft a dumb item 1,000 times to level up the skill to craft what you really want. The recipes in Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma aren't level locked, and I love that. But there is one thing I don't love about how skills level up in this game, and that's the lack of automation in the system. In older Rune Factory games, things would just level up and get easier or more efficient. You wouldn't have to go into menus or anything. In Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, you get skill points that you have to go into menus and manually distribute points to things to level up. Most of the things you distribute to will be simple low stat increases or weapon damage increases, so I don't know why this couldn't have been automated like in older Rune Factory games for simplicity. The one advantage to this system is that you do earn all-purpose experience points in parallel to specific skill experience, which lets you somewhat customize what you want to level up. I mostly use this all-purpose experience to level up rare activities like chemistry or cooking. Is this granular level of customization really worth all the time taken going into menus throughout a 40+ hour game though? On the other hand, although I prefer the more automated level ups from other Rune Factory games, I still love the pacing of this game because you won't be really grinding levels like you were in other more recent Rune Factory games to make new equipment. The only thing I grinded was relationship levels to marry a late game marriage candidate to get to the game's post-game dungeon. I could have probably saved myself a good 10 hours of gameplay if I just chosen a marriage candidate I had access to much earlier in the game. But this wasn't so bad for me since I also had a bunch of fishing to do and mushrooms to gather for other tasks. And I needed time to pass so my villagers could gather lumber and materials while I completed farming tasks for the village missions anyways. I'm not too crazy about the fishing in this game either. Factors like weather, time of day, fresh water, and salt water affect your catches. I suspect seasons also influence the fish you catch, but to be honest, I just ended up referring to guides to catch all the fish I wanted because it was just too obfuscating for me to know whether I was fishing in the right place for something or not. Fishing is another mostly optional activity though. Now there are a lot of things I love about this game, but the menus are also terrible when you're forced to navigate them, and even for things like cooking, there aren't many useful tab filters to get what you want to cook quickly. The worst menuing situations are when you're looking for specific levels of seeds to plant or very specific items to gift to characters to raise bonding levels more quickly. You'll probably want to stick to a Story of Seasons game, a numbered Rune Factory game like Rune Factory 4 or Stardew Valley if you want more detailed farming systems. Nor will Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma give you the kinds of deep town management gameplay that games of that genre will give you. However, as an action RPG with farming and town development activities in it, I think it's a great game. Since I play these games more for their action RPG elements, I think this is one of the better Rune Factory games as a whole, even as a spin-off. Apparently, the Switch 2 version of this game not only comes with an actual physical cartridge, but also an instruction manual, which is pretty awesome for collectors. I heard you can even play this Switch 2 version of the game on the regular Nintendo Switch, which is even more awesome. Personally though, I bought the game on PC because I think think Steam is going to be around longer than the Nintendo Switch 2 will be. So far, this is the best new action RPG I've played this year, and the game has given me high hopes for Rune Factory 6 in the future too. If you'd like to learn more about the Rune Factory series as a whole, I've linked a video I created in the past below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.